What is going on YouTube? All right, I'm using my Derek Jeter game worn batting glove as my backdrop here to talk about the newest card I recently picked up. And that card is the famous 1993 SP Derek Jeter foil rookie prospect card. Now, I got this in a 7.5. And like I said, this is a card that I had known about for, forever. It was one of those cards that was always in the back of my mind to pick up, but I just never actually got around to doing it. And it seems like this is a card that, especially lately, everybody seems to be talking about. Ray from Philly did a video about it a couple weeks ago. Ty Hawkins did a video on it recently as well. And with its growing popularity, obviously, as collectors know that the more popular a card is, the more the value starts going up. And there are so many Derek Jeter rookie prospect cards and rookie, going from 92 up to 96. And most of them you can get really cheap, but this one just seems like the more time that goes on, the higher the price for this goes. So like I said, I figured, all right, I got to get this before the price starts getting too crazy. Now, let me just talk about this card a little bit. One of the things about this card that makes it so popular and valuable is the condition issues with it. As you can see, it has the dark border, the dark edges, which makes it tough to have really nice corners and edges, and also the foil surface. It can really get bad surface wear. So, condition is a big issue with a card like this. That's one of the things that makes it stand out more than other Derek Jeter rookies. But a lot of people might not know this, but this card in a PSA Gem Mint 10 sold at auction a while back for $33,842. Yeah, I'm going to say that again. $33,842 for a PSA Gem Mint 10 of this card. All I can say about that is it must be really nice to have money. It must be really nice. And honestly, this is a card I really wish I would have picked up like 10 years ago, because I could have probably got it for a pretty cheap price. But for this card in a 7.5, I paid $100 for it. So I figure I got a pretty good deal on that, because this is a card that is just going to keep going up, and especially once he hits induction into the Hall of Fame, it's probably going to go up even more. So this is something I definitely wanted to pick up. I've wanted it in my collection for a while, just never got around to scooping it up. So now I have one. Very happy to have it. It's definitely a beautiful card. And while I have Jeter on the mind, I just wanted to kind of talk about, what Derek Jeter meant to me personally. Now, pretty much no matter where you live, what team you root for, or anything like that, Derek Jeter is one of those guys who's really loved in baseball and loved in the hobby as well. And the great thing about a guy like Jeter, on top of many things, is that he was just such a classy ball player. And I'm kind of old school, so when I see batters showing up pitchers showing up batters, the bat flips, the guys who hit the ball and stare at it, I'm not really a fan of that personally. And Derek Jeter never did that stuff. I mean, he would hit the ball and he would run out of the box every time. Even if he hit a tiny little blooper to the pitcher's mound, he would run. He never showed anybody up. He never talked shit about anybody. He was just a classy ball player, and he was a great ball player, and nobody can ever take that away from him. He was just, you had to root for him, even if he wasn't on your team. And like I said, no matter where you're from, I'll hear collectors all over the place talking about, how great Jeter was, but living in New York and being a Yankee fan, this guy was just it. I mean, you think about I was born in 1980. So growing up as a kid, Don Mattingly was my guy. I loved Don Mattingly. The unfortunate thing about Donnie was that he happened to play for the Yankees during one of their biggest droughts of all time. It was not easy to live in New York and be a Yankee fan in the 80s, especially because everybody else seemed to be a Met fan, but it was not easy. But, Donnie was my boy, and then once, he retired after the 95 season, Jeter came in, and it was just, from the start, you just knew this guy was going to be great. You couldn't help but love him. And just going through the years, and of course, that's when we started winning championships. And, 96 was the first Yankee championship in my lifetime. And then, the late 90s was just a beautiful time to be a Yankee fan. And Derek Jeter was a huge part of that. He was that rock. He was that guy you wanted to see in the batter's box. He was the kind of guy, pressure never got to him. He'd play the exact same way in the seventh game of the World Series that he'd play in like a who cares game in May. You know what I'm saying? And, the thing about the Yankees is they always had a lot of great players, but they always had that guy. They went from Babe Ruth to Lou Gehrig to Joe DiMaggio to Mickey Mantle to Thurman Munson, to Don Mattingly and to Derek Jeter. And, like I said, it just seems like they always had, no matter how many great players they had on a team, they always had that one guy. Now, I go to at least one Yankee game a year, sometimes more, but always every season at least one game. And it was just always great, man. You always got so excited when he would, come up to bat, especially the first time. And I do got to say, honestly, it is really sad going to Yankee Stadium and not seeing him there since he retired. It really takes something away. And the only thing I can imagine, because I wasn't around for this, is that this is the way people felt, like when Mickey Mantle wasn't around. When somebody that iconic on your team, and I'm just talking from a Yankee fan's perspective, but I mean, that's for any team. If you're a Phillies fan, the way you felt about Mike Schmidt, if you're a Red Sox fan, the way you felt for like a Ted Williams or a Corey Yastrzemski, every team has those guys that you just are in love with, and it really takes away when they're gone. But like I said, Derek Jeter was just a phenomenal player and just a great all-around person. I mean, he never gave the press anything against him. Like I say, never talked about anybody. He went out there and he played hard all the time. You never hear him, crying to the umpire. You never see him, trying to start a fight with any, the pitcher or anything. He just was a classy ball player, and in my opinion, he was the way more ball players should be. That's my opinion. Just that's the way, and that's the way a lot of old school ball players were. Let me go back to Mickey Mantle for a second now. There were a lot of great stars in the 50s and 60s. I mean, you had your Hank Aaron's and your Willie Mays. You had so many great players. But Mickey Mantle, during that time, the 50s and 60s, he was the ball player. He was just the ball player. Now, when Mickey Mantle would hit a home run, he would run around those bases with his head down, because he didn't want to show up the pitcher. Now, this is the biggest star in the game. Didn't want to show up the pitcher. And that's just an attitude that I think is lost on a lot of players these days, because now people like seeing the more showboat kind of ball player. They want to see the guy hit the home run and stare at it, and then flip the bat and, and stuff like that. And that works for people. That's just not my thing, personally. I think one of the biggest influences, I got that from my dad, because he never liked that flashy stuff either. He always liked the, you know, kind of the more quiet hero, you know, for lack of a better term. But anyway, I'm starting to get ridiculously off the subject. But I just wanted to, since I'm talking about this card, I just wanted to talk about what Derek Jeter meant to me as a Yankee fan living in New York. And long and short of it is, I'm definitely happy to have this card. And I will recommend to anybody who's a collector who doesn't have this card yet to definitely try to scoop one up. Because as time goes on, this card seems to be getting more and more popular, which means it's going to increase in value, obviously. So if you want this card, grab it ASAP, because the more time you wait, the more the higher that price is going to get. All right, YouTube. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you next time.